Welcome to the Alien Probe Podcast. It is Saturday, August 26, 2023. I'm Doug. Joining me today is MUFON Matt here and Angela Statz. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. You're an experiencer, and you're going to tell us, you're not going to be able to tell us all because you got a huge story. You're not going to fit it all in an hour, but, I'd really like to hear, about your experiences and, share some of these with the audience.
I'd be happy to. Every time I do tell my story, and I've only been sort of out there talking about it for the last couple of years since I decided it was time to do some research and maybe put some vocabulary to my experiences, because I have been having experiences since I was a toddler. And as I was growing, I didn't want to influence what I was seeing by, reading things or watching movies or putting things in my head that weren't already there. So I didn't do the reading and the research and that sort of thing through the whole process. It was just a matter of having the event and coping with the aftermath and then deciding where I needed to put that to move on. So that's sort of, the chain reaction. And then decades go by, and then you find out that all of those things connect. And the things that are happening now, I don't think I could handle if all those other things hadn't occurred already.
Right.
So there's definitely a reason it's a lifetime endeavor.
Yeah, that's an adventure. Matt had a question. I'm going to voice your question before you get to it.
Okay.
I'm going to jump right over you. How come you didn't write? Have you written a book about all this? You need to write a book.
I
Everybody
agree.
says that, but you can watch the YouTubes.
Yeah.
We can listen
Out
to it
there.
on. We can do audiobook.
Yeah. Well, I'm not selling anything. I'm not teaching anything. As far as when I help people, it's very spontaneous and organic, that I arrive in a situation and I use the modality that's appropriate and things happen, but I've never practiced or studied or, like I said, bundled into a package I could give to someone. It's just part of who I am.
I
So.
think your whole experience could be a bundled package, as in, this is what's happened to me, and this is the road I'm on now. Yeah, it's. I'm just surprised
do
that you
you
haven't written a book.
do you work? Do you? I mean, do you work? Do you? I mean, you have a career, I
I
should
have a
say.
normal 9 to 5 job, Monday through Friday, 3 kids, laundry, you name it.
Right, right.
Somewhere between all of that,
So you gotta have time to write a book.
battling in the astral to save the planet.
Right, right. See, a superhero.
That's right.
Just
We
saying,
need that.
I
Right,
might break a nail, but
That's awesome.
right.
okay.
You're just a
But,
regular person, except
I
for all of
really
this.
am. And that's why people always say, why is this happening to me? I didn't ask for it. I didn't look
Yeah,
for it. I didn't pursue it. It came after me hard.
yeah,
And I've just, like I said, just shooting the first alligator closest to the boat. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
like you just have to keep rolling, because you can't get caught up on the situation, but you certainly can learn a whole lot about our lives here from I guess navigating these things that
Right.
do occur. And they started when I was oh my goodness, my first memory was an entire day at my grandmother's house when I was 11 months old. So my
Oh
memory is
wow.
strong all the way back. And I remember, as a toddler, seeing things that, of course, I had no idea nobody else saw them.
Right.
But things like shadows moving up across the bedroom door when it's open, down up and down the hall. So when I'd have to take a nap and I'd be in my room, I'd just be laying there and I'd see something go past the door, and it would startle me. But then it's like when you realize it's not what it's supposed to be there, it's not your mom. You kind of do that, blankets over the head thing where you
Yep.
just kind of be
Oh,
still and quiet and hope it doesn't come back. But then when it was my mom, I was so relieved I would start crying. And she's like, "What is your problem?" And I said, it's not always you. When it's mom, you're able to let go and be
yeah.
safe and cry out. And so she thought it was, just what is, just take a nap. And I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
That's not
that's
gonna
gonna
help.
help.
But
Yeah.
I want
but
more
that's
time.
that's what happened a lot when I was little. When I was actively see things while I was awake, and I couldn't express what was happening, or she couldn't understand why I was having this emotional reaction. And it's, kids cry, but when it's at absolutely nothing, they get very frustrated with you. But Oh my goodness. When I was about 3, same house. It was Southern California, beautiful, bright, sunny day, not a cloud in the sky. And I was looking at the shadow play on the ground through the trees, through the leaves and the sunshine. And what I saw was that the sun had gotten a lot brighter all of a sudden. And I was thinking normally the cloud comes over and it gets darker first, and then it gets brighter when the cloud goes away. So I look up and there are these two huge, enormous glowing hands, essentially. I couldn't see anything past the wrist, but these hands are reaching down from the sky at me and they're just massive. So I put my hands together and I reached up and they closed over my hands and just sort of, did like that little hand squeeze hug thing
Right.
across my hands.
Wow.
My whole hand was
Wow.
barely, filling up the space of one fingertip. That's how big they were.
Wow.
So we just sort of had that moment and then they just fade into nothing. And being 3, the only thing I know that's white and yellow or gold and glowing is the angel we put on the Christmas tree. So I
Right.
decided that's what that was. And I
Intro.
thought that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, hello, I'm here.
Yeah. So I was really introduced to something light, at about the age of 3 that I recall being wide awake. And that sort of balanced out the dark things I was seeing. So that is a running theme through my whole life. When something really creepy happens within a day or a few hours or very, very soon after, I would have this just a credible experience of the total opposite. And that has really kind of carried me through. It always made me feel like I wasn't alone and I was protected and that I didn't need to be afraid of these things. So unfortunately, they always show up after, not before or during.
Right.
Except for one time when I was 9, I was at my grandmother's house and my dad had got married and gone to Hawaii. So my brothers and I were all there. I was the only girl and all the boys were older. So they had all taken off and I was home alone most of the time. My grandparents worked, so they weren't there, but I was running around the house just doing things to help my grandma, cleaning dishes and cleaning and, just doing stuff. But I saw something in that house several times throughout that entire day, and it was a solid black humanoid figure. Um, I first saw it outside and then I saw it in the house, and it interacted with me and was able to affect the physical environment. So, for example, when I opened a closet door to get the vacuum cleaner parts out of there were a bunch of hangers from the dry cleaners, and it was standing right inside the door, and its shoulders were displacing all those hangers. So the hangers
Oh.
had been pushed up behind its head.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was just right there. I mean, face to face with it. Um, it was just a couple of seconds, and by the time it registered that the thing that was outside is now in the house and it's right in front of me, it disappeared, and all the hangers started swinging down. So
You didn't. I would be screaming out.
Yeah.
again, by now I've been at this for a decade nearly, so I've got this.
And it sounded like it happened pretty fast.
I
So
I would have
I don't
sounded
know if
like
there's
the
much
little girl
reaction.
screaming. There's no way that freaked me out.
I will never forget the sound of those hangers swinging on that
Yeah.
rock because just imagine the creepy sound that would make.
Oh
It
yeah,
would be a good one for a horror
traumatizing.
movie. But
What
that
did
was
it
very tangible.
What did it look like? I mean, could you get a little more detail on
It
that?
was a little taller than me. I'm 5'10", but back then I was maybe 5'4". I don't know. So it was between 5.5 feet tall and a little tall. I don't think it was 6 feet tall. That's awfully tall for I don't know. Just imagine how high a normal closet rack would be, I guess.
Right. Right.
So it was solid, like completely solid. You couldn't see through it. It was fully formed in the space. So the black space it occupied had a definite outline. There was
Was
these
it-
funny little curls all the way around the entire body, like an old-fashioned tufted teddy bear or something.
Oh
So
wow.
the head, the whole silhouette had these little curls sticking up all over. And if it put its hand out, you could see the arm. But if it put its hand in front of its body, the arm would absorb and you'd only see it with the elbow. It was only
Right.
just
Oh
the
wow.
depth and the darkness of it, and then the outline. So
Wow. Like a shadow. Yeah.
there were no physical details on the surface that you were looking at ever. And like I said, I saw it move. I saw it move things around. It was fully in the space and interactive. It was really scary. But I was saying before about the one time that something did happen good in the middle of something bad was that day. After seeing it a half a dozen times, I had to go up the street to get my brothers to come home for dinner. And it was getting dark, and it had followed me all the way up the road. I could see it on the other side of bushes and the cars and
It's,
things. And it was
Oh
outside
no.
with me, actively going up the road with me. And
oh boy.
I was trying so hard not to be scared because that's what it wants. And I thought, if I just, I know God has me. I belong to God. I belong to Jesus. As a 9-year-old, this is what you're telling yourself, that it can't touch me. So I just stayed in that space, because that instant you have that doubt, that's when they've got you. And that's what they're waiting for, is that moment of insecurity, that question, and it's there to answer. As soon as you are in agreement, then that's it, you're done. But
When you
as
s-
I was
when excuse, oh, I'm sorry.
coming,
When you say you're done, I mean, you're they dead, or what
no,
all
I mean,
happened?
they really get their hooks in you, if when they find that chink in the armor, so to speak.
Right.
That's their way in, and they can really anchor and mess up your life,
Like they're feeding off the negativity part.
Is that it?
whatever it
I would
is, and
think,
it's
yeah.
you've allowed it
Fear.
through fear, through the doubt that you can handle it, or the doubt that God has you, or whatever it is, that weakness, and that's really how they attach. You want to say attachments? There you go.
Right. Right.
That's when they happen. So as I was coming back down from the house to get the boys, they stayed. I came back on by myself. I was worried about, taking too long, because I was always, parents, we're always getting in trouble for everything. So
right. Right.
Did you join the club?
and, and
Yeah.
having all
I'm
these
still in
brothers,
trouble.
and our uncles were just a couple years older than us. So it was a whole pack of boys and me, and I didn't want any part of them getting in trouble. So I headed back without them, and it followed me back. The thing is that this particular road, it was in Rancho Palos Verdes, and anybody that knows the area, it can be very, very steep and hilly. And this street was extremely steep, and you could barely walk down it without losing control and just going too fast. And I was also trying to not hurry because of this thing. I was trying to get back in the house. Not that it couldn't go in there too, but at least grown-ups were there now. But I got to where I was going too fast, and I was just running, and my feet were hitting the ground so hard, and I was going to fall. I was going forward, and I'd lost control, and all I could think is, how bad is this going to hurt? And these huge hands wrap around my torso and just scoop me up into the air, and then stood me down on my feet at a complete stop. I mean, I was 3 feet up in the air.
Oh wow.
And that's what I mean by the good thing happening in the middle of a bad thing that one
Yeah.
time.
Caught you. Yeah.
Then I thought, those must be those big hands. It must be
Yeah.
that angel that physically picked me up off the ground and stood me still.
Wow.
And I just I was overwhelmed by the whole thing, because I felt where the fingers were overlapped in the front, and I felt where the thumbs were overlapped across my back. That's how big these hands were. They were just enormous. And the best thing about it was, I knew that black thing saw. I knew it saw it. I knew that it witnessed me being picked up by an angel, and I'm like, you still want this,
Nanny, nanny, ha ha.
Yes,
Right.
So
Yeah. Feed off
it's
that.
Yeah.
nine. I'm just a little girl,
Right.
Yeah.
I living in a very strange world, but that was my reality growing up, was things like this. And I told my parents, I tried to talk to them, and I had all kinds of things going on. I went to the pastor at church and explained it all. And because things got pretty hairy after that, it followed us home. And that particular entity was with me for a full decade. I was
Wow.
probably 18 before it left. And
That's a
yeah,
long
just,
time.
it is a long time. And then on top of that, you've got all the other stuff going on. So that's when I was 9. A year before that, I was up in Oregon with my mom, and that's when I met the little Grays. So when I first moved up there, we had one house, and I don't know, there's so many details and there's not enough time, but I
Yeah.
was roller skating, and I fell and I hit the ground really hard. And when I pushed up, I saw toes in sandals, like I'm on the ground face down, and standing right above my head is a person. And so when I said push up, I see their feet. And there's toes in sandals and a hem, And as I look up, there's this full-blown massive angel standing right in front of me, looking down at me with, the hands down like this. And the big sleeves, the rope around the waist. I could see the braiding and the tassel of each thread of the tassel at the end of the rope, the weave and the material. I could see the texture of the rope on the sandals. I mean, everything was very highly detailed. The feathers were incredible in the wings. There was nothing that wasn't fully formed and completely present in the space, except it was made of pure white gold light, the whole being. So of course
Wow.
goes right back to the hands and all the things. But I didn't want to blink. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to, it's, you're always just thinking through your heart. I was just saying, thank you for showing me this. Thank you for showing me you're real. Now instead of having faith, I know. And that's a huge, big thing. When it's one thing to have faith because you choose to believe something, it's another thing to have experienced it and know something.
Yeah.
And that's so, when you collect these truths in your life, you can't go against them. You can't turn your back on them, because that causes, it causes pain and disruption.
Yeah, faith is hope. I mean, this is more than faith. This is
It's
experience
oh,
and
I know exactly.
knowing.
It it's got to help with the trauma too, because there just seems to be a lot of trauma in this, and the faith is help healing that. I would.
It's all you have. I mean,
Yeah,
it's you just have to know
exactly.
it's stronger than all these other things, and there's
Yep.
a reason you're being tested like this. Um, and Lord knows, what does it say? Like they won't give you more than you can handle or
Right.
whatever. You
Yeah.
don't ever think you can handle it, you know.
Right.
So, but yeah, I just again, all through life, these particular instances and I guess illustrations of what's possible, they're all connected. Whether it's for the light or fighting the dark or just maintaining a stable position where you could kind of be in the eye of a storm and not be affected by it. So
Yeah.
all this chaos can be going on around you, but you don't have to participate in a way that is destructive to yourself. You can do a lot about that chaos without experiencing the chaos, or feeding into it or become a part of it or giving yourself away to it, things like that. I think that's been my biggest lesson,
Yeah.
is just learning how to maintain knowing myself well enough so that when anything in the environment changes, I know immediately and I'm
Yeah.
able to respond to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
You had it more fit. I mean, there was one of the stories where in your closet, I think it was in your room, and there was something that was in there, and it made all the
Yeah, that was the
books.
black entity. It was him. It came into the room. I had okay. So going to church, I would feel amazing when I was on the grounds of the church. The moment the car rolled off into the street, I'd get a migraine, and I would just be completely debilitated for hours. So I'd go home. I sat on the end of my bed, and I'm just sitting there going, what is this? And the bed starts vibrating, and then it's shaking, and it's banging against the wall, and I'm just frozen. And I'm looking up, and along the whole wall to the side of me at the top near the ceiling are shelves. And I look up, and the black thing is there. It's like 3 feet wide. It's a great big round ball. It's furry around the edges, and it starts moving towards me across all the shelves. Now I'm frozen and I can't move. So once it gets past me, I can't see it anymore, but I know it's there. Everything on the shelf starts shaking and then just shooting straight across the ceiling, not just falling down, but all the way across, hitting the other, the closet doors that were there and then falling down. So it looked like a tornado went through there. Everything was just thrown
Wow.
everywhere. And when I was able to just finally snap out of it and jump up and run out, I was running through the house yelling, "There's an earthquake, there's an earthquake." And as I'm going, nothing else is moving. And my stepmom was on the phone with my grandmother, whose house this thing came from in the first place. And I'm saying, "There's an earthquake." She's like, "Shut up, I'm on the phone," And I'm like, so finally she goes, "Oh my God, you're kidding." And I said, "No." She's like, "I'm on the phone." She goes, "Oh my God, there's an earthquake at your grandma's house." And then boom,
Oh,
Oh,
it hits our
oh,
house. And
wow.
she never put it together that I
yeah,
informed her of the fact before it happened.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And, when I took her to my room to show her, she was so upset because the earthquake didn't do it. The rest of the house was fine. And she had given me some really nice things and dolls from around different countries and things, and they were everywhere. And she was really upset that I would do that, that I would
Yeah.
destroy my things like that. And I was trying to tell her I didn't do it. And so she's like, "Well, you stay in here till you clean this up." I'm like,
Did you just see when she
Yeah.
was talking, two things flash behind her?
Now you said it came from the other house. Are you thinking that that's where it originated from? I mean,
Yes, for
it.
sure. There's a lot about that house I can talk about, but I just really haven't done it publicly yet. It's an infamous location. It's been in the news. Family members were involved and affected.
Oh
And
wow.
Oh wow.
yeah, and ultimately, my uncle lived there his entire life. And the short story is he was into some very dark things that developed into even darker things. And I think that's what happened, that even if this was a thought form or something that was pulled in through his activities into that air to that house, it saw something shiny and decided to get the heck out of there and followed me
Yeah.
home and stuck around with me because, I believe, here's what I think, because it got smaller and smaller over the years. It took on forms that were smaller. um, I think it was releasing this negativity all
Right.
throughout the years, that somehow it was learning. And when it got rid of enough negativity, that it was able to move on. And the last time I saw it with a witness. I've had friends that have seen it with me. It turns out my entire family saw this thing. No one talked about it. I found out
Oh.
decades later
Oh
that, oh yeah,
wow.
and I'm like, really?
Oh wow.
And left me alone with it this whole time.
That would have saved
So,
so much.
That's
but
a.
other people did see it, and my friend saw it when it was like the size of a really big cat, but it was shaped like a rat.
Oh wow.
And then the last time I saw it, it was like a crow or a raven, and it flew away, and that was it.
That's a typical story of a lot of experiencers, is that with their family members don't talk about it until the very end.
Way
and,
later. Yeah.
then it's
Yeah,
like, oh, well, you saw that too. You could have said,
sure.
we could have like enjoyed this experience together, but
Hey,
no, you
So
didn't say anything.
so you did hear what I said, right? When she was telling the story in the back, whatever's behind her flashed
was
twice.
it this crystal here?
No, it was on
This
the
card?
right. It was
Oh,
on the other.
oh, it's
Oh, it
on
just did it
it.
again.
If I
Something's
So
flashing
maybe it's
on.
a light.
It's
Okay.
okay, but
Oh, okay.
okay.
It's
I don't
doing.
know. And maybe when I put my hands up or something, it did that.
No,
It's weird. It's
so it was
fla-
doing that behind when she was talking, and I'm like, whoa.
Were my hands down? Because I
Yeah.
no,
just
it's
thought
well
it did
that
that.
right there. It goes. Is you have a motion something motion?
I
That
know I have an aura that's just absolutely
Yeah, I
magnificent.
think
that
that's.
is
Yeah, I'm pretty
amazing.
sure that's what it is.
It
Yeah.
must be the reflection of this,
It's
whatever
doing it way
that is
more now.
on.
It only did it twice when she
See?
was telling her for that last story. So
That
yeah.
is
Uh,
what.
don't be
Oh,
surprised if you see things because
Right.
that was
Right.
it's flashing every once in a while
I
Yeah.
too.
had just finished an interview, and as soon as I shut everything down, something dark just went through the
Right.
room, and I was
Yeah.
just like, okay,
Yeah.
then.
Never goes away
No, it
all
doesn't.
the way, does
It.
it?
The more you
They're
talk
very
about it,
curious
too.
about me. I think that a lot of things just arrive out of curiosity. Whatever it is they see me, and then they're
Yeah.
surprised when I can see them back.
Yeah.
So, but going back to when I was 8, I was saying the dark figure thing happened when I was 9. I was in Oregon, saw the angel. We ended up moving, and at this other house, all kinds of stuff was going on, ghosts and just different things. Everybody was seeing stuff, and of course, I've been through a few more years of these things, and it's easier to talk about because now my mom is telling stories,
Oh wow.
and I'm overhearing her talking to her friends about the stuff she's experiencing and saying that particular house is when, again, I met the little Grays for the first time, and I was 8. I had a friend over, and she had a complete and utter, I don't know, freak out, and
Right.
her parents had to come and get her. So it was probably
Oh.
9 o'clock. I'd gone to bed. I got in the bed, rolled around, got comfortable, and I always take a good look around to make sure I'm alone.
Right. Right.
This time I wasn't.
Right. Oh boy.
There were all these people standing around my bed, probably 15. I mean,
Oh wow.
Oh.
there were 2 rows of grays. There were the little ones in the front and the taller ones in the back. So the 3-4 foot tall ones, and then
Yeah.
the 5 foot tall ones surrounding the bed. Like on all 3 sides towards the end. And I was just being love bombed and told, how proud of, me they are, and particularly so proud of me for making it here. And I thought,
Yeah.
that's really weird because
Yeah, that,
I get here the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
But
Right.
maybe not.
I made it here. What?
yeah.
But they did. They gave me all these instructions on how to live my life. And he told me to protect my biology. So don't drink, don't do drugs, don't do this, don't do that, don't, all the things, right? Just like my mama did.
Right.
And, but yeah, that's the first time I saw them, and I wasn't scared. I wasn't shocked. It was different, but I was receiving all of this positive feedback and praise. So I was all about it. I'm like, okay, thanks. Good to know I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was really something, and I could see it like they're standing right here in the room. It's something you never can forget. These things. But that particular house, a lot went on there. It was built in like 1803 or something like that. So we had these crank out windows that would open.
Oh wow.
I always had to have this one window in my room open so this giant owl can come and sit in the windowsill.
Oh.
And the way the back of the house was, it was on a hill, so it was quite high off the ground. And I thought it would sit up there because it could see everything below and swoop down and get its dinner really easy. But we have a roof too, so why would it need my windows? Yeah. Well, years later, when communion comes out, my mom's on the coffee table.
Right.
I walk in and take a look at that picture, and I hit the floor. I blacked out.
Oh.
I saw that face and lost consciousness. I was like, she heard me, of course. She comes running. I'm like, what is that?
Right.
Grabs the book and she says, do not read this. It's too close to home. And of course, that's the first thing I did. And there's so many things. Oh my God. So many things in that book.
Right.
Yeah. All I can say is me too.
The owls. Yeah. The owls are very significant.
Yeah. That owl needed me to keep that window open. So.
Wow.
But he was looking out. He wasn't looking in at you. He was just kind of.
Well, you know how owls are. They can look any way they want.
They looked at him, turned his head all the way around.
All the way around.
I don't know which way the feet were going.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's all about the eyes.
And this is like the second house or third house, right? This is somewhere, yeah.
We moved a lot.
Right.
And, my mom, she was a furniture mover. Okay. So, like, every time we go somewhere and we get everything moves. So, within 6 weeks, she'd be rearranging all the
right. Right.
Yeah. I think for her, especially the beds, if you move the beds, they won't know where you are. It doesn't work. So,
yeah, you're like, no, they know. Good try, Mom.
So anyway, moving forward, when I was 15, that was my first experience on an actual ship that I'm aware of. And this did happen in a dream state or an astral state. However, the entire chain of events started a couple of days prior when I was, again, just going to bed. I was in my room, lights are out, and I'm wide awake. And I see through my eyelids the light come on. And so I open my eyes, and I've got a sliding glass door here and a bedroom door there and a window over there. And the light's coming from the window. And I'm thinking, there's no cars there. That's my neighbor's backyard. I've never had their light come in my window before. Sure enough, I open my eyes and there's this huge glowing orb of like white gold light. Same thing. It's always that white gold light. Yeah. It just coming in the room, like, just floating right through. And when it came closer to me, it was probably, like, I'm sitting in the bed, so it's like at the end of the bed. So it's 6 feet away at face level. It slows way down when it passes in front of me. And then it goes out through the sliding glass door. And the whole time, just like with the angel, I'm thinking, I'm here. Who are you? What are you? What do I need to know? That's my biggest thing is what does this mean? What do you need me to know? Nothing. I got absolutely nothing from it. But then just as I was sort of finishing that conversation in my head, trying to, I don't know, stabilize, I guess, after the thing. Yeah. I look and my entire ceiling in my room is not there. What is there is the face of a huge white wolf. Like it just poked its face right through the ceiling of my bedroom. And it's breathing and its irises are moving, its fur is moving, it's looking at me, and then it's gone. And I'm just like, 1-2 punch, and so, yeah.
That's different.
It was staggering.
Oh,
It was
man.
staggering. And I felt very magical and special. I'm like, when do I get the unicorn? But what happened after that was at some point I had heard the phone ring and I tried to get up to go answer it. And I went down the hall and I was really unstable. It's like I wasn't connected. My consciousness was moving, but my body wasn't working. I was
Right.
falling and hitting the walls. And I turned around and went back to my room and I fell backwards on the bed. And I heard and felt a reverse swish in my head and I heard a pop.
Oh,
And the next thing I know, I'm up in the corner looking down at myself lying on the bed. And my very first thought is, I'm not supposed to be up here. I'm supposed to be down there. And then I was. And then I'm thinking, and I blew it. So
that
that was my
happened.
first out of body experience. And then after that is when I had this, like I said, sort of astral dream where I was running through the woods with these wolves. And the white one was there. And then there was the black one and the red one. The red and black one were like jostling each other. They were brothers. And this was their sister. And we went through the woods. There's this big white thing, and there was kind of an archway that we could go into the white thing. And I, running through the woods, was thinking, I don't want to go in there because it was like alabaster. It was so perfectly white. I thought, I'm dirty. I can't even step in there. I've just run through the woods. And she's like, don't worry, just come in. When I passed through the threshold of that ship, everything impure just fell away from me, and I experienced that. So when we went through the door, she and I went to the right, the two went to the left, and they weren't wolves anymore. By now I'm realizing they're people. And we went around, and at the other end was this old man sitting there, and he had all this hair and this long white beard and the whole thing. And I remember looking at him and then realizing I probably should be more reverent and not. And so I didn't. And we sat down and they wanted me to look over the rail. When we sat there, the bench and the seat went all the way around the entire circle, and there was like a rail. So when I sat down and I knew I was supposed to look over, I looked over the rail and we were in outer space and the earth was this tiny little dot way off in the distance. And I didn't even know we'd moved.
Oh, wow.
So my first thought is, well, how, that I didn't know what to think. I was just thinking that's where I'm supposed to be, and I'm up here, just like the out of body experience. I'm
Yeah,
supposed to be up here, I'm supposed to be down there.
right.
So we zoom all the way down to this planet, but it's not Earth. It's not this Earth. It's the new Earth, and there are no people on it, but there's buildings and cities and all the things the world has, the animals, everything is there, and it's just pristine.
Right.
And they took me around the entire planet and showed me everything, and they said, they wanted to know, how do you feel about this? How does this make you feel? That was the quest. And I said, I want to be here now, but don't let those people that did what they did to that planet
Yeah.
come here and do this to this planet. I said, but I'll come anytime. Whenever it's time, I definitely will do that. And that's the impression that I got, essentially, that this was a spare and a just in case, and worst case scenario, certain people will have access to that place. But
Nice.
I mean, that's all. And so for 25 years, I wondered who they were. And it was just a couple of years ago, after a whole series of events in 2020, that I figured out, like, I need to know, and started asking questions and digging around and doing some research. And the only, world builders I know of that have a father god and two sons and a sister is Anu, Enlil, Enki, and their sister, that through the stories, seeded this planet.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that made sense, and so I kind of landed on that until I learned further. So
It's like the Anunnaki, right?
precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then of course my biggest question was, well, who am I that you need my opinion on this?
Right. What
Why?
role?
That you bring me out here to show me this. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah.
Are you getting any closer to an answer as you move on?
I think so. I've never had, past life regressions or anything, and from other experiences that I've had, I'm 99.9% positive I've never been here before. And the only reason I'm here now is because this was my only chance to have the ultimate human experience, because when I was 28, I walked out and I didn't want to come back. There was no trauma, nothing happened. I was defending myself from an entity that was in the house, and I had been asleep, but then I became aware something was in the house. So you know, I got up to kind of look in the room, and it was coming in the room at me. And when I sat up, it backed out. And this happened repeatedly. So I was sitting up out of my body several times. I didn't know I was sitting up out of my body. I thought I was sitting up, but that's not the case. When I finally, it came at me, because every time I'd lay down and I would try to wake up, like try to move my body, it would come at me, because that's when I would connect, and then the fear and the need to defend myself would hit. When I'd sit up, I was all soul, and it was afraid of me. And that's when I was completely confident and in control of the situation. So the last time I really tried to connect, it got too close, and I jumped out entirely, went full form out of my body. I was as big as the ceiling. My head was way up
Oh,
by the
wow.
ceiling. I expanded probably 3 times my normal size. My
Wow.
hands were huge. I could not see myself. I was invisible to myself. And I went after it. The first thing I said was, I am. I just announced it. It was really strong into the space, but it didn't come out of my mouth like our voices do.
Right.
It came from everywhere in, if that's something you can
Wow.
imagine.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when I spoke,
Right.
it was like the universe spoke and then came to the place where I was. And that's how I was talking to this thing and telling it, if you're not of the light or you don't want to be, you can choose again. It's up to you, but either choose the light or go. And I was chasing it around the house, but I ended up at the front door.
Yeah.
And I could see it because it was like just heat waves. That's what it looked like when it went clear.
Right.
My hands were really big, so I struggled to unlock the door and turn the knob because it was so little. I couldn't get the little latch. So I finally got the door unlocked, and I opened it, and it zoomed out, and I closed the door. And then when I went back to my body, I just said, wait a minute,
Yeah.
Yeah. What
So
happened?
let's see what this is about. And this was amazing, because I did all the things. I had the 360-degree view. I saw the colors that you can't describe. It's like lifeblood pulsing through everything.
Right.
So you can see this in an individual leaf, and you can see it as a tree as a whole. You can see it in a bug. You can see it everywhere. And it was beautiful. So I left the building. I saw a whole bunch of things. I said, what's it like to be an eagle? So next thing I know, I'm looking through the eyes of a bird flying over the city. I was in Vancouver, Canada. So the bay, everything was just absolutely phenomenal. And I could hear a footstep of a bug on a branch in a tree. It was just anything
Wow.
my desire or thought landed on. It was instantaneous experience. So reality was at the speed of thought and desire.
Right.
Okay, and that is the way it should be here,
Right.
and that's possible here. Everybody wants to write a book and teach people how to do it, but it's again, if you want to believe it, that's the first step. But I
Right.
know it, so it's easier for me because I know it.
Right.
Yeah. So when I went back to my body eventually, and I looked at this thing in the bed, and the first thing I said was, what a magnificent biological machine. And I think it talks like that.
Yes,
Right.
it is.
I was definitely not Angela. I was not male or female. I was not human. I was what I am when I'm not choosing something,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So at any moment, I could have chosen something and experienced being that thing. So that I was at really the core of what we are in absence of choices. So if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But, there was nobody there. There was no one guiding me. There was no one over my shoulder. It was just me. And I didn't want to come back. And I thought, if I don't go back, where would I want to go? And this is what the interesting thing is with the whole tie back and the whole time is not what you think it is. Because in that moment, I thought I would create the perfect world, and I would live there, and I would do all of these things. And then, I thought, well, I really shouldn't do that now, because if you do something like that, you cannot abandon your creation.
Right.
And then I thought, well, that's what
God did.
God is,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
what we are.
Yeah.
So we are this whole creation, and he would never abandon his creation. And I was literally in that same position thinking that, a new earth, which I saw when I was 15.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm
Which
thinking,
ties back.
did the thing I said at 28 create the experience I had at 15?
Yeah.
Right.
Did these people on this ship come to show me the new earth that I created that hasn't been populated yet because I'm not there?
Right.
Isn't that insane?
That's
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah. That's the whole
But it
time.
makes perfect sense. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe that's where I'll go next.
Right.
It's almost interdimensional. There's
Yeah.
the interdimensional, like we were talking earlier about the CIA. I mean, you might naturally have this ability, but
Yeah.
the CIA allegedly developed a system where people could go and create their own out of body experience and actually go into different dimensions and see these different things. But
I think a whole bucket load of experiences that I've had, I've either been pulled into something like that or have been used to test and create these types of spaces, because that would
Yeah.
make sense to me.
yeah, it was pretty scary and how easy it would be to do that. And you seem to have a natural ability it comes naturally to you.
I'm pretty sure everybody can do it, but
Yeah.
some people can do it easier than others.
Well, yeah, it's just part of your,
Well, it's the human contraption that
Right.
filters all the possibility away.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
It really is. But I have these dream missions, so I know very distinctly the difference between a typical dream where it's just nonsense and it's happening and there's no investment whatsoever.
Right.
And a lot of times I will find a trigger. Well, someone will say, "Where do you want to go?" And I'll be like, "Go out of this dream." And I will literally jump out of the
Yeah.
dream into the astral and go visit targets, predetermined people that have agreed to let me visit them if I'm able to get to that point, so that they can experience me arriving and being there, proving it happened, just proving these things. I've been testing it for a while now, and it's been pretty interesting, the results. But
That's funny you should say that, because when I first watched the first interview on you and Doug had mentioned that we're going to be doing this, I'm like, she looks really familiar. So maybe at some point, yeah, I've seen you before. I'm like, she looks really familiar. I don't know from where, but yeah, it is.
It's
yeah,
interesting.
evidently I have a tendency to be a little naughty while I'm out there. So.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Yeah, you turn
That's
into
a
that.
whole other
Turn
show.
into that's a whole different story.
different podcast.
I have both visited people in their space and validated that I was there, and been able to pull people out into astral where I am and shared an experience there.
Nice.
And that is incredible because you have the energy of both consciousnesses not tethered by the human body.
Right.
So when you intentionally want to, be with someone or experience someone without their body in that space, the frequencies are just, staggering. So
Do you
that's
warn
the thing.
them? Do you warn them before you're going to do it?
Probably
like
not.
a text or something.
No, in that case, it
Just
was
tonight.
successful because he was anticipating the call. And it was very interesting how I managed to get out of the dream and into that space, because I actually used the dream space to create the space. And that's the first time that happened.
Oh, wow.
Because in the dream, I was in a house thinking, oh, I've got to go find so-and-so. So I thought, he's asleep in the bed. I'm going to go up to the bedroom in this house and expect him to be there, And he was. And so it was just by the intention of creating the space and expecting that person to arrive, we were there, and it was amazing. And then of course the dream all shattered, and it was just our energies out in whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Ether,
it was amazing.
whatever.
Yeah.
And the other person experienced that too.
Oh yeah.
And what was their read on the experience? How did
it was, just use your imagination, just absolutely, just fireworks. Love and the energy. If you've ever seen, I always think about that movie Cocoon.
Oh.
Where she takes off her body and she does that energy melt.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of probably along those lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was their way of having fun.
Like I said.
You remember that?
Yeah, I've experienced the out of body one time. I was younger, and whoosh and the pop were definitely that. And it freaked me out so much, I went right back. And I'm like, oh, I want to do that again. And then I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. It
unless you
freaked me out.
unless you embrace it, I guess. You know,
Right.
if you don't, if you react, then oh, I guess I deserve to be able to do
That's
this.
exactly right.
Yeah,
That
that's
fear
too bad.
reaction drops the frequency, and that's
Yeah.
what completely separates you from the experience. It happened just the other night. I was just going to sleep, and I was doing a little energy work, just thinking about some things. And I was there in that space. I felt someone put their hand on my lower leg, like on my shin,
Right.
just a very gentle, warm hand on my leg. And I didn't startle. I didn't, I'm always expecting something, and I don't want to scare it away, whatever it is.
Right.
And I just said, I opened my eyes. I said, hello, hello. And I looked around, and there was nothing there. I got nothing back. But the hello, and I'm like, I'm inviting communication. I'm inviting, some connection with whatever that was. It was definitely not anything negative. And then that was it. It was just a gentle, letting it know
I'm.
a reassurance. It was just a reassurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Possibly that the work I was just doing, the space I was just in, is where I need to be. And good girl, that's right. You know what I mean? Type of
Right.
thing.
Right.
So
Nice.
yeah.
That's incredible. So if
I
you
mean,
relax and you're welcoming it in, rather than freaking out, it's like
Startle.
doing this.
Yeah.
This, the experience will go away.
well,
That's
on the flip
interesting.
side of that, there's also been times where I'm laying in the bed and I'm dead asleep, and I've gotten to the habit where I have my sheet or my blanket in a fist right here.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
can't tell you how many times it's been pulled off.
Right.
Yeah, I just
But this time I was laying there, it pulled so hard, my arm shot out,
Oh,
and I
whoa.
pulled back. And as I'm watching this happen, I'm seeing the whole sheet sticking straight out into the room.
Oh, what?
Where do you think
Right.
it is? And then it
Right.
let go and it fell down. And I
Oh,
was just like,
jeez.
what on earth? I mean, these things are happening in real time, wide awake, physical
Right.
objects, the whole thing. And, I mean, I've experienced, you name it, I can tell you a story about it. Just pick any topic. I mean, it's
Right.
really like that.
So is that someone coming to visit you instead of you going to them and pulling your sheet out?
Definitely
It's like
someone coming to visit me. Yeah,
you don't know what was on the other end of that, though.
I don't.
That was just
It.
that's crazy.
So, but I have seen things where one that still rattles around without an answer is a few years ago. It was this room. It was Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, bright daylight. My mom was here at the time. My husband at the time was here. I've got his 3 kids, my 3 kids, a dog. I mean, everybody's in the house. I'm having a killer migraine. Take me to the hospital that bad.
Wow.
So I'm just laying there dying, and I can hear everything going on in the house. The door's right by my head. It's next to the bed right here. The dog's behind me, and he's a big 110-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback, great big thing, right? So he's there, and I feel the end of the bed go down, like someone just sat on the bed or something, but nobody came in the room. So I'm registering this has to be a spirit
A
that needs
visit.
help or something,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I reach out whenever this happens, whether I'm in a dream state or just between or already awake. It can happen anytime. I physically hold them. I can touch them and hold them. So I reach out and I slap a leg, and I land on the leg, and the leg is hairy, and I'm like, that is definitely
Uh,
not my husband.
that,
And so I'm feeling this hairy leg, and then of course, I don't recognize who the person is. I reach out with the other hand, and he's like, I guess, kneeling, so he has his hands on his knees. I grabbed the wrist, and when I did that, I started to pull, and the dog had gotten up by now, and he pawed at the guy's arm and landed on the arm. I felt the dog's claws on my hand. Now, I've got a migraine, and my eyes are closed this whole time, because if I open my eyes, it's game over. So, I mean, I would just be sick. So,
oh, wow.
the dog touches him. We feel it. I mean, our hand and arm go down from the weight of his paw.
Right.
He yelps and jumps out of the bed. I pull the guy down next to me. So now I've yanked him down here. We're face to face. His head's on the pillow right in front of me. I grab his head, because that's one thing I always do is I hold people like this. I grab his head and I feel the military haircut. And then I'm close, so now my gears are turning. Well, who could this be? Now, I had lost my brother prior to this, and he was in the military, and I thought he finally
Yeah.
made it through to tell me he's okay. This is him. So I just kind of brace myself, open my eyes, and it's not him.
Oh, oh,
I have pictures of, I went on the internet and of course, obsessed trying to find a face so I can say this is what it looked like.
Right.
yeah.
If you Google the most beautiful or the most average face, you'll get a male representation. It's like a digital picture,
Right.
but it's that face. And he just looked as surprised to see me as I was to see him.
Yeah.
We're both
Oh,
of us
really?
like, you know,
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
whatever mission he was on, I think he made his target.
Mhm.
It was me.
Mhm.
I confirmed and validated the contact.
Right.
Yes.
But I really think that was a test by location, possibly, you know, some kind of military, like you said, CIA studies.
Remote view.
Yeah.
I could be
Could
one
be.
of their, you know, their touch points for people to reach. I
Right.
don't know. It'd be interesting to find out, but that was completely insane.
Wow.
And I knew that the moment I let go of him, he
He'd
would
be gone.
disappear. He did. Because now my eyes are open and I'm looking at him and we're having this and I've got seconds before I'm going to be sick right there.
Right.
So I have to let go. I jump up. And so as soon as I let go, open my hands, he's gone like he was never even there. Just
Wow.
blinked out. And of course, my 110-pound Rhodesian Ridgeback, who's supposed to be protecting me,
Saying, "Hey, buddy, what you doing?"
already in the corner by the door.
Right.
Here. Yeah, that happened.
That's a great story.
That was real, and I still don't really have an answer, but I'm comfortable with the idea that if I can do it, other people can too, and whoever it was,
Yeah.
unbeknownst to me, made their landing. So.
Yeah. You said that was a couple of years back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
good.
It's a thing. Well, I think it's probably still a thing in
Yeah.
the CIA area where it's something about I think it's harmonizing both sides of the brain because each side of your brain does some different things.
Right.
So
And
it
I
sinks
wonder
in.
if their attempt to target me is what caused the migraine in the first place.
It-
I was
Mhm.
already receiving that
Yeah,
energy.
wouldn't
Right.
wouldn't
I was
surprise
being
me.
Yeah.
microwaved with intent.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend doing it on purpose with the CIA, but you know.
I don't think I was having a migraine, and my guardian boyfriend popped in to see if I was okay.
Yeah,
right.
That was it.
Did you take aspirin?
Wasn't Thor?
Yeah.
Thor
Yeah.
Oh, you want to talk about Thor?
I read the Thor story.
Specifically, Red Thor. He's on a ship in Orion. I was there.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
That is awesome.
But yeah, no, I had taken. I take naproxen. That really works on the migraines if I get it early enough. But my ex would put all kinds of things in whatever bottle to travel. So he put ibuprofen in the naproxen bottle,
Right.
and I took that instead, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So I was in deep. It was bad.
Yeah, I've taken that. It works.
Yeah. I don't know. You guys know all the stories, so I'm just going to go around to like what just happened. This last weekend, I'm still processing because I'm just going to say it like it happened, and then what I've come to think maybe it could be.
Okay.
And y'all can dissect it, and maybe people can chime in and leave notes and contact me because I'd love to have that conversation if you know anything I'm talking about. But so Friday night, I guess early Saturday morning, I was having a dream mission. When I call it a mission, I'm in astral. It's not a dream. Right. And often I am dealing with negative entities and things. And this particular case, there were some children. I was taking this entity off of these kids. And once I got him off, he was just right in my face, just eyeball to eyeball. And I was wakened abruptly. And it's really harsh when you're in a situation where you're not just dreaming, but you're engaged spiritually somewhere and you're slammed back into your body too fast, things happen. So my daughter knocks on the door and wakes me up abruptly. I'm just eyeball to eyeball with this demon. And then I have to get up and go do what she needed me to do. And I'm walking through the house and she's in the kitchen getting ready for work. She looks at me, she goes, "Are you okay?" She's like, and I'm like, "No." I said, "I'm not entirely here." You know, I was just like, again, like when I had the out of body experience and I was falling in the hallway.
Right.
It's like my body was walking through the house, but my consciousness was just tagging along back there somewhere.
Right.
I hadn't connected at all. she woke the body up and the body responded, but the rest of me was just floating around, and I wasn't working together as a team yet.
Oh.
Right.
I, I don't know, focused, and I did the thing I needed to do, and she left, and I came back in the house, and well, now I'm up. So, I did a couple dishes, I ate some breakfast, I did something with the laundry, and I went out on the back porch and I put my feet in the grass, and I was sitting on the edge of the deck with my feet in the grass, and I was starting to get a migraine. And we had taken out a pool. So there's this big area where I had thrown all these wildflowers, seeds. So it's all growing up crazy and it's really pretty. But this giant blade of grass was like sticking up right in my face, and I'm getting this migraine, and I thought, what the heck? So I let the grass sit on my forehead. These are the things I try,
Right.
You never know until you try it.
That's right.
I got the grass on the forehead. I'm completing the circuit. I'm like, come on, fix this. And and then I thought, okay, this is weird. After a couple minutes, I went in the house and something was on my phone. So I checked my phone, and it's 2 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Total
time.
That's a
time
lot of
dilation. Oh,
So
that's
I'm going to
interesting.
give it a grace period of saying from 10 to 1:30 is gone.
Oh, wow.
That was Saturday. And then I was like, I was really searching for the spaces between those four little things I did. I ate, I did dishes, I checked the laundry, I went outside. There's nothing in between those things, nothing. And, the migraine is just blooming. So I go take a pill. I come in the room, I get everything dark, I lay down. My daughter rings the phone, and she's at school, and something's happened, and she's coming home, and she's hurt, and she's
No.
she's stubbed her toe or something. And so again, I'm abruptly brought back. And then when that happens in the middle of a migraine, and you're just wishing you'd be unconscious or dead or something, and you're jolted back, the migraine just bang, it just comes back tenfold. And then I was sick. So she's coming through the door, I'm getting up to be sick. I'm saying, I'm sick. She goes, ah. So she runs away. By the way, it's 5 o'clock. So I missed
Wow.
3 more hours. I thought
Oh,
I'd
my
been
wow.
15 minutes. It had been 3 hours.
That's incredible.
I hadn't eaten all day, but I was dry heaving so hard. I'm sorry for the details, guys. Every time I was sick, the electricity in the whole house went out.
Oh.
Oh.
Because I didn't know, because I'm in the dark. I didn't have anything
Wow.
on in here. But I got in the shower real quick just to, wake myself up. And then I saw my curling iron was on. And I'm like, that's weird that I hadn't used it. So it has a twist. I twisted it off and put it down. And I felt it wasn't hot. So it had just turned on. And I'm like, I didn't just do that. So by the time I got settled, my daughter comes back in to show me what happened. And she said, Mommy, she goes, every time you were sick, the electricity in the whole house went out.
Can you stop being sick?
And I was like, really?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I also had noticed in between all of that the curling iron wasn't even plugged in. So however it had gotten turned on and gotten hot, it wasn't even plugged in.
Oh, wow.
So then I'm sitting here trying to decide, what does that mean, when I got sick and the electricity went out, that I was pulling that much power.
Yeah.
And that's not a coincidence. There was no storm. There was nothing going on here.
Right.
Our electricity doesn't glitch like that. I mean, no. I think here's what I think happened. And this is, thanks to some people that gave me some suggestions of possibilities, because a lot of people are talking about time slips right now. You
Right.
hear changing timelines all the time, but what does that mean?
Right.
I think I experienced a time slip from within the time slip, whereas most people would not even know that it even happened.
Right.
Here's my philosophy on this situation, and I'm open to all conversation on this. What if, when I took the demon off those children, I changed the timeline, but I wasn't able to finish what I was supposed to do with it because I was woken up abruptly? Okay.
Could be.
Right.
So I'm still in that astral space with this energy, and I have to come back. I think I brought it with me,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I contained it, and then I coughed it up. And when I coughed like a physical medium, when I coughed it up and ejected it after being in that pain all day from the migraine,
Good change.
the electricity went out because I was dealing with that energy
Yeah.
out.
It's a possibility.
After
Yeah.
all that happened, I still had the migraine and everything. I laid down, and a few weeks ago, I had what I would consider not a miraculous healing, but an intentional healing on myself. And I've done it on other people, but very rarely does the seer see themselves. The psychic can't read themselves.
Right.
I said, okay. I had a conversation with the universe. I called everybody I know into this room and I said, this is what's going to happen. And I said, I've been places, I've seen things, I know how this works. And I said, we're going to do it right now. And I basically walked the talk. And I said, if all of everything is possible, then the entire whole of creation can just turn its eyes over here for 1 second. It would be nothing for all of creation just to notice me, this little thing over here real quick, having this issue, and let's just deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Go away, fix this. Migraine was done.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, in the meantime, I had checked my phone. Somebody was texting me, and it's of someone that I've recently met that we're doing amazing energy work with. I was supposed to meet him the next day, like on Sunday. So when that whole Saturday thing happened, I thought, oh, I'm under attack because they don't want me to find this person. They don't want me to, do this work I'm going to do. And I don't know. I think it was more about what I was dealing with, like I just told it. But
Right.
that's first thought is, oh my God, I'm being attacked. So I don't,
Right.
whatever. But he does Reiki. And he's like, okay, get off the phone. I'm going to send you the Reiki. Don't do the headache thing. And while he was doing that, I was having a conversation with creation. My hand went up in the air and I was like a catcher's mitt towards where his location is to catch that Reiki.
Oh.
Right.
Wow.
I had a crystal in my other hand. I'm talking to God. And that whole thing, within 30 seconds, like I said, the pain just left me. And I
Wow.
felt better than I normally do. So I know it was a healing. It wasn't just that my headache had expired,
Right.
I was healed. And in that, and what was really moving about all of that is because of other experiences I've had being told certain things that I have access to. I said, I'm going to access that tremendous weapon of love. And I just started crying. And because I said, I don't have the tremendous weapon of love. I am the tremendous weapon of love. And I
Right.
just lost it. But when I said that I am the tremendous weapon of love, that is what healed me.
Wow.
And I have goosebumps all over right now.
Wow. That's incredible.
We're gonna need a
It
part
was
two.
so amazing.
Part two.
Hey, we're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank
well,
you,
there you
Rick.
are.
Awesome. So thanks for listening to the latest episode of the Alien Probe Podcast. We welcome comments, questions, or requests to alienprobepodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook. Check out our website at alienprobe.net, Twitter and Instagram at alienprobepod. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Thanks, Angela Statz. That was phenomenal.
Amazing. Wow.
I appreciate you coming on. Love to do a part 2 sometime.
Yeah.
If we don't talk to you in the astral
'Cause
plane.
we didn't even get to the pictures and all that.
Well, you're the first to have the breaking news of what just happened. So
Yeah.
that's big.
Yeah.
Good place to stop.
That should be the header.
All right.
Breaking news. Yep.
All
I
right.
am the tremendous weapon of love.
You're right.
Hey, the tremendous weapon of love.
That's right.
We're feeling it.
That's right.
Awesome.
All right, we're going to wrap it up.